Here we go.
Never argue with an idiot, Trevor. They drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Have you not learned this yet?
When things are wrong, I'll be by your side. Even when you want to cry.
Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the Naked Apple.
It is Tuesday, June 9th.
June
I
9th.
was reading the 6/9/2020.
June
June 9th.
June 9th.
Yes.
Now that we've established that it is indeed June 9th,
9th. Yes.
we can continue
As you were.
the rest of the story.
Now you can hear the rest of the story.
Oh, so many stories, though.
A lot of stories, and I hate all of them.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah. Last week, we shared some good news. And another year and a half of news happened in a week.
And all of it made us want to cry.
Yeah, and so we're done with good news.
Yeah.
We gave you a chance.
I wish there was more good news. But
So we're done. Done. Yeah. So I guess so I was up a little bit last night. A little
He
bit.
texted me at 1:30 this morning that he was giving up and going to bed.
And then
So he was up a little bit.
and then I added to it earlier today, but later after 1:30. And I'm a little upset, triggered, whatever word you want to use, about everything.
Literally everything.
So, without further ado, you get to hear my voice for a while, and Mike will probably interject when he feels necessary, but probably won't, because he probably won't. He might throw a baseball at my face, though, at some point in the middle of it.
Let's get it over with.
Oh!
Oh, snap! I
Right.
got his face and the mic!
That was impressive.
And retrieved my ball.
And and I've been so unfazed with all the previous attempts that I didn't even move when it hit me in the face.
He doesn't understand that it was a slow build. I was building his trust in my lack of ability.
False sense of security.
So that I could drill him square between the eyes. Right on the schnoz.
Schnoz.
There's your good news for the week, my friends. I finally hit him in the face with a baseball.
Yep. It's 1 for 4.
Shh.
One of
Shh.
20
Don't take this from me.
20%'s not
Don't
bad.
take this from me.
That's not bad for baseball, and it was a baseball. So
Right. So,
So,
are we starting this with your
you know what?
whole
No.
thing, or are we
No,
starting
let's-
this with the clip?
Let's ease into
Ease
this.
into this.
with,
Let's
with a clip
ease
from
into it.
I forget who it's from, but I'll see it as soon as we pull it up here. There it is. This is from Grabian. I'll be honest, I don't really know what Grabian is, but I'm glad they put this together, because these are all things that I've heard and never thought in my head I should keep note of these and then compile them together later for when they contradict themselves, because they always do. But this is your completely unbiased, consistent media a month ago versus today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm ready and waiting.
All right, let's full screen this, because we love to see all their pretty faces.
Mm-hmm.
How far in do you think before you have to comment?
Let's see, how long is the video?
It's minute
and
50.
50?
Yeah,
I'll give myself 15 seconds.
15 seconds. All right, ready, set,
Go.
And a far more serious scene. Watch these images. Really just an ugly, dangerous scene at the state capitol in
How he says it's
Michigan.
ugly and
we look at
dangerous
this
when there's a giant
extreme
American
group
flag right in the
of
middle
people.
Those pictures and those clashes really show the chaos.
And you're out there with guns.
I don't want to call them rallies. They're not protests.
These quote-unquote protests. I don't even think that that's the right word because protests are supposed to be peaceful.
What part of that video right there didn't look peaceful?
I mean, they were climbing that column.
Oh my gosh,
they were
did you
knocking
see how
pictures off the
violent
wall.
they were? And they had guns?
They had them.
And American flags? Those
Absolute
bastards. Those bastards.
How dare they?
How dare they?
Stand there loitering
With guns.
with guns.
With guns?
Loiter. All right, we made it
Okay.
27
We made it.
seconds.
Well,
I
didn't
mean,
quite
we
make it
commented
27
earlier. We commented
seconds.
earlier, but we made it to 27 seconds before pausing.
Oh.
Ah,
Okay,
all right.
continuing on.
And this was back when coronavirus was just absolutely deadly.
You know, like
Because-
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not embarrassed to say that I was afraid.
It's not clear what they're demanding to infect other people, demanding to make other people sick.
I watched even their coverage of these violent protests of people that were going to the state houses and stuff saying, hey, open the states back up. And I'm pretty sure none of them said what she said.
No. I'm pretty sure what I heard the most was I want to go back to work.
Which is code for I want to infect as many people as
Right.
possible.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what it was.
It's a dog whistle.
I
if
would
you
I would
will.
like to be able to take care of my family.
That's another dog whistle I
another
hope
dog-
old people
Right.
die.
Oh, okay. My children are hungry. Is that what I'm pretty sure that was one of the ones I
That's
heard.
a great thing
at
of
one
privilege
point.
you seem to have there.
Oh my gosh. Showing my white privilege.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I checked my privilege once.
People can take this home with them and hurt their families and all the rest. I'd like to ask them.
Jeez. The concern in her voice. They're going to take it home with them and infect their families. I think I saw families there in some of these videos. So, I mean, technically they couldn't take it home to their family if their family is there.
Right.
Already.
Because their family would already have it from being there.
Right. But, she's deeply concerned about the damage to their families. And there's a lady whose name is contradictory to how she usually behaves.
Them if they're willing to sign away their right to treatment if and when they get infected.
Who the hell do you think you
So, hold on with that. We're not even through this stupid clip.
This is another one of those times when we have a clip that's going to take us 7 times as long to get through it as it does to actually just watch the clip straight through, right?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
So, Joy Behard's all like, I hope they refuse treatment when they're
They're
sick.
right to treatment. Did you not catch that part?
Yeah, they're right.
They're right to treat.
So,
You mean my right to go pay somebody to treat me?
recently, so through this, Donald Trump was saying, hey, this hydroxychloroquine stuff and whatever the other one is, looks like it can be beneficial to helping curb all this. Shouted down, study came out saying it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And then, was it today, yesterday, recently?
Was over the weekend, I think.
The scientists and all them, they came out and said, yeah, that study was actually a false study. It wasn't complete and it's inaccurate, so we're just throwing that study out.
The one that said that those things didn't work.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They threw that study out. So
That's okay.
so are these people now, are they going to refuse hydroxychloroquine if they get sick? Using their own logic. Because
I mean, probably not.
Anyway.
I mean, wasn't one of them already? Wasn't he already sick?
Yeah, that's when he was in quarantine. I think it was after. I think it was.
Quarantine.
I think it was after he emerged to go to a park that wasn't in his neighborhood.
Was
with
this
his
before
family.
or after his altercation with the biker?
I'm pretty sure this was after.
Oh, was it after?
I'm almost positive this was after he was outside of his house when he wasn't supposed to be outside of his house with his family.
Before he did his little "I'm coming out" for the first time.
Yeah.
Reveal that was after he'd already been out
it was
and had a fight with a biker that said that he should be home because he was
betwixt those events.
Was sick.
Betwixt.
Oh, okay.
But he's an authority.
Just checking. Just making sure. I'm making sure I had my timeline straight.
Yeah. All right.
Those are important.
And we're not even to the part that is actually sickening to us.
I don't think I'm even going to be able to comment on that part. So
just roll it.
Just roll
it. Then scream after. Okay.
Let's just go.
You
this whole
are.
experience
I don't understand what is wrong with people. Stay at home.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
So, just one pause. And then I promise I won't hit pause anymore. I will sit away from the pause button.
It is not unruly. I can see from the image right here that this was one of the most peaceful and well thought out protests that America has ever seen.
Unlike those violent protesters in the State House.
Unlike the people with
loitering,
their guns loitering in the State House.
Criminal bastages.
This is a shining example of peace and prosperity.
You ever, what's that movie with, what's his face from Naked Gun? It's probably even Naked Gun.
It probably is Naked Gun.
Where he's in front of the house. Everyone remain calm. There's nothing to see.
Nothing to see here.
Exploding in the background. People flying.
There's nothing to see here.
What this reminds me of.
It's an apt description. That is a pretty apt description of what we are viewing. Right. For those of you on the podcast not seeing, so the previous video that they showed of the protesters in the Capitol building, I believe that was a Capitol building, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was I think that was the Michigan State House.
The Michigan State, it was the Michigan State Capitol building. And there's just a ton of people standing around. I mean, I didn't even spot any firearms in the actual picture.
No,
that they
because
took.
they're actually not allowed on the premises of the building.
So they're sitting there talking about all these armed protesters at the Capitol building, and
not a single image
the video
of an
that
armed protester.
they show doesn't have a single image of anybody carrying a weapon, and they're all literally just standing around in the Capitol building. Now,
to be clear, there were protesters outside.
There were protesters outside that were armed, and I believe, if I remember correctly, there were several of them that were standing around actually just talking with cops. Like,
no.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
like, buddy, just,
Well,
chatting,
they were a bunch of white guys
talking.
talking to white cops, I'm sure.
No, there was multiple races,
systemic racism,
and multiple. It was a vast representation there. And compare these things to the current video they are showing. This little reporter man.
Reporter man.
Don't know what.
I don't have a Twitter, but that's going to be my handle. Little reporter man. I'm putting his stupid face with a flaming background. That's my image.
Please do, because that would be fantastic, because I don't know how else to this. Okay, so he's bald, he's got glasses, and he does not look that tall.
And a vest.
But in the background, he's trying to act very calm, very collected, and he's describing this protest as very peaceful and what was the word that he used that I just was making fun of? Anyway,
nonviolent. I don't know.
Yeah, nonviolent is a shining example, whatever. And in the background behind him is a store on fire. Not like a little fire, like I'm talking the whole building is up in flames, and there's just flames leaping a good, it's got to be what, 20, 30 feet up in the air off of this building. And I mean, the place has been firebombed. and he's describing how peaceful these protesters are. Like, seriously? And then the little catch breaking news line underneath him says police station and other buildings burning in Minneapolis. That is some fantastic reporting that you were doing there, sir.
Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Everyone disperse. And notice there's not a firefighter or fire truck in sight to fight this fire.
Right. Not a one.
Why? Because they couldn't get through the crowd. The crowd won't let them through. But, that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. That's peaceful protesting.
Because it's justice. Anyway, we'll go through the rest of this before we scream, and that or you'll hear a couple of pops, and that's our heads exploding.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
The beautiful thing is we're seeing citizens who are caring and concerned. They're hitting the streets.
Heartwarming to see so many people turn out peacefully.
Brooke, I think this is a march, really.
But as they're coming off, it's peaceful. They're saying peaceful protest.
Across the country, it's bringing people together, community with unity.
People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
Because that's Mike's new soundbite. He's looking for any chance to use that.
All the chances.
But that last one, that one is just infuriating. People are sick and tired. Yeah, that's why the first group was protesting. They're sick and tired of not being able to feed themselves. Serenity now. Serenity now.
Oh man,
but there's no bias in the media. There's no agenda there. There's
whatsoever.
It's all clear cut, equal reporting of everything. Yeah.
I don't have words. Anyway,
we should go to a break.
Okay, let's do it.
Break.
Take a little break.
Break.
We'll be back in momentarily.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Unfortunately. All right. Okay. So on the Facebooks, everyone's at war with each other. War of words, because everyone has gone overnight, seemingly, from medical experts, especially viral medical experts, to social, civic, what am I looking for? Racial equality experts of sorts. Almost overnight. All of Facebook.
Movements and history and all the things. They're experts on all the things.
All the things. So why even have experts if we have all of Facebook to be an expert?
Well, because the experts can't agree on anything, that's why.
You don't have any evidence of that, though, do you?
Have you ever been to the doctor? Have you ever been to more than one doctor for the same thing? Because they're both experts, but neither one of them will give you the same diagnosis.
That's different from. That's different from. That's different from.
From what?
Different from.
Different. Okay.
Different.
Check.
How do you argue with people like that?
You don't.
So, here we go.
Never argue with an idiot, Trevor. They drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Have you not learned this yet?
I have, which is why I've basically not done anything on Facebook, at least interacting with people on Facebook.
I try not to anymore.
It's so hard. Because to me, I feel a lot like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Are you saying that what I'm saying is evil? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I am. And no, I will not apologize. So, Black Americans and woke sympathizers are being used by liberal progressives again, and they don't even know it. The protests that have stemmed from the horrific and wrongful killing of George Floyd rubs me the wrong way. No, it has nothing to do with his recently discovered criminal past, nor does it have anything to do with my so-called white privilege. My respect for those who choose to join law enforcement or even all the rioting. Yeah, well, maybe the rioting, kind of. I'll explain. And if it sounds like I'm reading something, it's because I am.
Just
and
a
if
little
it
bit.
looks like I'm reading something, it's because I am.
he is.
I had to.
There was so much here that he had to write it down.
I had to.
Because he has to keep his sentences straight.
It's only 6 pages.
It's okay. The 6th page is only 1 line.
And for those in college, yes, you can write research papers in less than a couple of hours. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Had 3 weeks work on it. Best work is done in the last hour.
Pretty much.
So a video surfaces of the arrest and eventual death of George Floyd at the hands of police officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The officers involved were fired the day the event unfolded. A protest, understandably, began that night calling for criminal charges against those officers. And for the first time in what feels like years, the entire nation was in agreement.
Well, that couldn't last very long. I mean, there's no way that the people in power would let us agree on anything. CNN.
Everyone, from Donald Trump and conservative talk show hosts to liberal news anchors and politicians to all the ever-changing sudden experts on social media, agreed that what happened was wrong and the officer involved should be charged with murder. The protest continued into the next day, understandably, because charges still weren't filed. This time, some in the crowd became a little violent in their protesting, which, again, is mildly understandable, though I still don't agree with violence in a protest. The main officer involved, that was on George Floyd's neck, was finally charged with third-degree murder, but investigation was still pending for the other officers involved. Protests continued again, understandable, calling for the other 3 to be charged with at least accessory to murder, if not third degree. However, this is where everything and everyone split. Again. 48 hours. We made it 48 hours, right? Basically. The nation and the world, because the world saw all this too, was in agreement that this was wrong. I lost my spot. There we go. Legitimate protesters were still out in force, now spread to multiple major cities across the U.S., protesting for the remaining officers to be charged and for better reform of law enforcement policies and procedures to ensure that everyone is treated equally and that bad cops get rooted out more easily. Fine. Mixed in with those protesters now were rioters and looters, people whose sole objective was to destroy the peace and make a quick buck. They could be seen looting department stores, grocery stores, restaurants, and many small businesses unfortunate enough to be in the path of the crowd. To the protesters' credit, there were many who tried to stop this from happening. The next night came, and the rioting became greater. Buildings being burned to the ground, including police buildings, cars overturned and set on fire. While all this was going on, news networks like CNN would cut to their live reporters who would say the protests are mostly peaceful while a building or cars are on fire behind them, as we saw earlier.
Such as that video we just watched. But Trevor, they were mostly...
I know. However, if that's the message you're trying to share for the news, maybe, just maybe, don't do that in front of a burning building. This is where my support begins to waver. I understand protesting that's a healthy thing enshrined by our Constitution to help influence politicians to do the right thing. And by all accounts, it was working. But then the destruction. It turns out the groups Black Lives Matter and Antifa had both shown up at different protests across the country that had turned violent.
But they didn't cause or start the violence. Those groups are all about justice for black people and to fight fascism.
Fine. I'll give you that. They may not have caused or started the violence, but still, how does destroying businesses owned by black people help the cause of black people? How does destroying an already weakened economy in these communities help those who live in them, among which are many minorities and immigrants who either work in those now destroyed or gutted businesses or receive critical supplies and treatments from those businesses? How are their lives now better because of justice for George?
Well, I mean, this was just the final straw in a long history of systemic racism. And
No, stop. Just stop. Stop right there. If this was the final straw, but the hundreds of black lives killed every year in Chicago and New York aren't final straws, then there's a flaw in that argument. If the organization Black Lives Matter really believes that Black Lives Matter, why are they not organizing protests in Chicago to stop violence against black lives? And I'll pause for my script here. I think a lot of people don't realize that Black Lives Matter is an actual organization.
Yeah.
Because there are people that say, they're with Black Lives Matter or whatever, and they're telling people to stop doing this, stop spray painting Black Lives Matter. They'll think that we did this and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I believe that there are good people associating themselves with Black Lives Matter, not understanding that it is an actual organization and group. If you want to go to their website and go to their goals, which it sounds like you might have already started doing.
That's what I'm doing right now.
That'd be a great thing to go into because...
Oh, yes, it is.
We'll save that for the end of this, where it talks more about that. Yeah. Why are they not Sorry, I need a beverage. Sorry. The good doctor to the rescue. So back to it. Why are they not constantly in the news advocating for police changes in all these cities that see an unusually high number of black victims to violence and racism, whether it be from law enforcement, the courts, or regular citizens? Why do they only seem to show up when protests are easily sparked into violence? If there's systemic racism in the country, how in the world did a country so racked with racism elect a black president? There is systemic racism, but it is not countrywide. More on that later. And Mike's not paying attention, so I'll do this part.
I'm looking for the
goals. It's in their goals.
It's in their goals.
Yeah. It's in their goals. It's in there.
I don't see a thing for their goals.
Yeah.
I see chapters, resources, what matters. What we believe.
That's what it is, what we believe.
Okay, found that.
And I went to the Bureau of Land Management by mistake. I'm so used to it being on a certain spot on my computer that I clicked on that spot.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
We'll get back to
it fits in better towards the end of my spiel.
So you were saying that systemic racism.
There is systemic racism, but it is not countrywide. More on that later.
But you don't understand. The people who did all that were conservative white supremacists posing as...
Well, if that's the case, then why were liberal-leaning news organizations covering for them? Why were liberal Hollywood celebrities willing to post bail for all who were arrested? Are they all white supremacists too? Why are Democratic politicians denouncing President Trump, calling for governors and mayors to get their states and cities under control? Shouldn't they all be calling out the white supremacists who destroyed all this property across the U.S.? Who? Oh,
I missed something.
Oh, who stole who knows how many dollars in merchandise?
Right.
It's great when you can't read your own rant. Who stole who knows how many dollars in merchandise? Or maybe they were white supremacists, just not conservative. Regardless, they are all, quote, criminals and thugs. Obama's words, not mine. There's an overarching agenda here that is being pushed because, in the words of former President Obama's chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that is an opportunity to do things you think you could not do before.
Exactly. These protesters are using this crisis to...
The protesters are protesting. They're using this crisis to protest. The riots, the chaos, the calls for defunding the police. Why in the world is that a good idea?
It's not.
The demands for apologies on social media. None of that is for the same cause as the original protesters. How does demanding that black cops kneel to the ground promote racial equality? How does telling them to put a gun in their mouth and pull the trigger promote racial equality? How does demanding anyone of any race kneel before any other person of any race promote racial equality? And speaking of crisis, is there no longer a virus plaguing the world? Not a week or two before this, conservatives were lambasted for protesting lockdown orders. They were being called selfish, careless, and ignorant among the nicer names for being out in public. Most were observing either social distancing guidelines or wearing PPE, or both, while protesting through the streets and around Capitol buildings. Excuse me. They were called dangerous and imitating because some decided to dress up like they were ready to go to combat. Yet, no damage was reported in the wake of these protests. Now, you have health officials saying that this racial stuff supersedes viral concerns. I was unaware that the Chinese coronavirus, because that's what it is, was consciously aware of our individual societal woes and is more understanding of the plight of racism than that of people concerned they wouldn't be able to provide for their families.
Well, you know, Trevor, that's just your white privilege speaking.
You know what? No, it's not. Am I privileged to have been born and raised in my circumstances? Yes, of course. But the color of my skin did not determine the type of person I would become, because I believe in Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's vision. Yes, he was a reverend. Everyone likes to leave out reverend. That we live in a nation where we will not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character.
So what you're saying is that only white people have good character.
Oh my goodness, no. Why does there only have to be polar opposite choices?
Right. But Trevor, there is systemic racism.
Oh, right. That's right. There's systemic racism in our country. I did say I'd come back to that. Tell me, is it racist to say you should watch or read this, especially if you're white? If no, change white to black and see if it is now racist. For example, you should watch or read this, especially if you're black. Does that wriggle your feathers wrong? If it did, congratulations. You're a racist. Actually, you said something racist. It doesn't mean that you are racist. The systemic racism that is claimed to exist in the country and seems to all too often be attached to conservatives is, in fact, not there.
So you're saying that there aren't any racist conservatives.
Chill your social justice warrior butt down, grab a dictionary, and look up systemic. Then think real hard about that statement. There are racists everywhere and in every group, but that does not mean it is systemic in that region or in that group. However, I would like to point out a case for one group, as stated at the beginning of this rant: progressive Democrats.
Dude, that's absurd. Democrats have been fighting for minority rights from the beginning, and progressives are all about progress.
Are they really? Let's go through some heroes of this group, shall we? Woodrow Wilson is revered for his forward thinking and his 14 points for world peace. And even I, myself, who consider myself conservative and all that, consider those 14 points to be mostly fine. Because it's telling, not Russia, whatever they were called before.
The USSR?
I guess. That doesn't seem right either. Anyway, what is now Russia to back off and give everyone their countries back. For the most part, that's what the 14 points are, which is fine. So even I can find good in people I despise. He did some neat things like resegregating the U.S. Army and federal government. That action alone led to the creation of what came to be called Jim Crow laws. He also contributed to and screened The Birth of a Nation at the White House, a movie that valorizes valorizes the Ku Klux Klan as saviors of the South. And that's according to the super conservative website, Vox. 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 Lyndon B. Johnson took over after JFK was assassinated. He signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Awesome. Cool. Got those civil rights going. After he voted against every single Civil Rights Act in his 20-year tenure as senator in the Senate, and the Democratic Party grew more in favor of it, that's when he finally signed it as president. Though the vote was still split, he would give names to previous bills that I can't repeat without being censored because it's got words that are racist. Also, I didn't put this in here, but I will later. Barack Obama said Lyndon B. Johnson did not vote for any civil rights thing while he was Senate. PolitiFact checked that statement and consider it completely true.
But that's completely false. Now, wait a minute.
So...
Okay.
So there's that. Now we go to probably my favorite.
Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger. She is the founder of Planned Parenthood, if you did not already know that. No, don't roll your eyes until I finish. She was all about birth control and women's health.
That's what Planned Parenthood is.
I said, let me finish.
Okay.
And eugenics, and through that, genocide.
Oh, right.
It's a little...
Because the Democratic Party has never, ever hinted that they were for eugenics.
Never. Not once. In a letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble, I don't know if he's part of Procter & Gamble or if he's just Dr. Clarence Gamble. I have no idea who Clarence Gamble is. She said, "We do not want word to get out that we want to exterminate the word I can't say because it's racist to do so, population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members." Wow. Well, you're just taking that out of context. If you read the whole context, it's not really better.
No, it's not
Because
better.
before that, she's talking about getting black doctor on board to help the ignorant people understand. Because that's better context. I made this sound better by taking it out of context.
It's not hard to believe if you ever read any of the letters that she wrote to pretty much anybody.
She also talks about her vision of peace, in which she talks about sterilizing and segregating lesser persons that would be detrimental to the race. Which race, I wonder? Couldn't be the race that she belongs to. It couldn't be that one, which is white. She also referred to such inferior people and races as weeds that, quote, clog up the path and drain up the energies and resources of this little earth. She also revered the work of Germany at the time. This was the early 20s, late 20s, early 30s.
For those of you that don't know, that means it was during World War II.
Right before World War II. But yes.
Right. Yes, yeah. Right before. During that time.
Yes. Specifically that of Josef Mengele, who was known as the Angel of Death at Auschwitz, where most of his experiments and theories were put to the test. Wonder what those experiments and theories were, if he's called the Angel of Death, among other names that I didn't put on here. Indeed, even now, you can find many Planned Parenthood clinics in what are considered low-income communities and also in black communities where her vision of a superior race can live on in some degree.
But what does any of this have
to do with being used? Glad you asked. Donald Trump was a favorite of the mainstream news up until he won the presidential nomination to run against Hillary Clinton. He was a joke for them. The best the Republicans could do was a celebrity who, until a few years prior, was in favor of most Democratic policies.
You heard like why he actually ended up deciding to run, didn't you?
I think I did, but refresh my mind.
It was because at a dinner with Barack Obama, Obama made a snide comment about how Trump could never run the country as well as he did, and Trump was offended by that. So
hold my water, because he doesn't drink.
Pretty much exactly what he did was all right.
All right, you're on. I'll take that bet.
I'll take that bet. I see your 8 years. Raise you 8 more.
But then he stole the election. So they had to dig into his past to find anything to nail him on. They found some stuff. They found some slanderous locker room talk. They found a disgruntled employee here and there, but nothing stuck. So then they went after his money. He has to show his taxes to be president. It must be some fine print or something or other in the Constitution that says that, because if you look...
It's the Declaration, and there's it's over on that yeah, there you go. It's that big one. The little tiny print.
If you look right between, well, it's not there.
It's not there. Nope. Yeah. Nothing. There. It says that that's not a requirement. But he has all about the birther thing with Obama. It's the same thing.
Yep. He was. However, it is a requirement to be a U.S. citizen to be president. You actually can find that in the Constitution of the United States.
Over there. It's
Article 3, 4. One of those.
I know. That's very fine print. I can't
read
it.
I know. Sorry, I don't have it memorized.
I should. I am working on it.
Yeah.
Someday.
We the people, in order to form a perfect Obama. Okay.
Yep, that's about as far as I got.
About as far as I get.
It's okay. At least I've gotten past the part where I don't say the thing.
Thanks, Joe.
Nope. Who stopped?
But dumb as that movement was, at least it was founded on something actually in the Constitution. Also, in case you forgot, Hillary Clinton's campaign started that when she was running against Barack Obama.
Right. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I digress. The tax thing didn't get him, so we now know, fabricated criminal claims against him via the FBI, FISA courts, and others. The Clinton campaign allegedly funded the Steele dossier that ended up proving to be based on false claims. They tried to nail him on collusion with Russia and ended up shedding light on Biden's dealings in Ukraine. For the last 4 years, the press and Democrats have tried almost everything to get rid of Trump, but he still stands there, terrible orange tan and billowy hair.
I think that's what's on top of his head.
I think that's what's on top of his head. Ever vigilant, with his fingers ready to troll the Twitterverse.
And he is such a troll. Our troll in chief.
Kovaviv. Kofefi.
Kovif?
That's probably the best one.
Kovifi.
How long did the news focus on Kofifi? What does that mean? What is he trying to say? I don't know. Maybe it's a typo and he typed it in his sleepwalking to the bathroom. Gosh. Ever think of that?
Who cares?
All the while, he has been sending long-sitting bureaucrats home, and with each one, the storm against him grows bigger and bigger. More and more people, like myself, find ourselves running to his side to defend him. Not because we like him. No. I mean, look at him. Look how he handles himself. But
I thought you were about to make a fat joke like Pelosi did.
Except mine would have actually been funny.
It's hard to laugh when a walking corpse is talking.
She's like Yzma. Just holding this lady together. But the constant attacks against him are so ridiculous that we find ourselves in this corner of trying to maintain sanity, and it only pushes us closer and closer to him. These protests turned riots are nothing different. Trump directed the Department of Justice to investigate the case of George Floyd not even 48 hours after the incident took place. He has spoken outwardly about how terrible the event was, and that those were bad cops that should not be officers anymore. But now, all this systemic racism is Trump's fault for letting it happen and not changing anything to prevent it from happening. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a Democratic president before him that didn't do anything too? Although I should correct that, because now they're calling for all kinds of criminal justice reform, which Donald Trump did.
Right.
But that doesn't count because it was with Kanye West, who's a Tom Thumb or whatever it is.
But I got nothing.
More than that, last I checked, the president isn't in charge of state and local laws and policies.
Or local police forces, or literally anything to do with local law enforcement.
If it's your city, the president has no say over it other than what is directly touched by federal law, which is basically nil. Are we not going to point the finger at the mayors, city councils, governors, and state legislators who have done nothing in all this time? How long has your governor been governor? Mayor, senator, representative, city council member? How long has an ideology been in place where you live with little to no change in what you consider to be serious issues? And while we're here, how long have you been voting for those people or that ideology? Do you actually do homework on whose box you're checking on that ballot? Or do you just check all Democrat or all Republican, or go by which name seems most familiar, or who has a D or an R next to their name? Do you vote for this party or that because it isn't the other party? Or do you vote based on the content and character of that candidate? Do you vote for someone because they're female or because they're black? If you do, that is sexist and racist. These protesters, now riots, are yet another tool to try to get rid of Donald Trump. Me Too didn't stop him. The census change, Russia, Mueller, bureaucrat dismissals, Epstein, the border, Kavanaugh, Ukraine, Anthem protests, North Korea, Paris Accord, and even a global virus couldn't shake his polling numbers or scare him into resigning. Now, global riots on civil rights with claims of a racist president who has done and said less racially charged things in his lifetime than his leading opponent for the next presidential election has said in the last few years.
Not even that, but look at what he did do for the community. I mean, the lowest unemployment in our history.
Not even
before
that.
the virus.
Not even that. The lowest minority in unemployment. The lowest black unemployment ever. But he's a racist.
Right? I mean, put aside that whole award that he won where he was standing next to Rosa Parks and, all that stuff that was, that's because he was racist, right?
Yes. He was doing that to make us think that he's not racist. That's why. Our country is sick. We are sick. There are deep wounds that need to be healed. Race shouldn't have to be one of them. We already killed each other over it 200 years ago. Let's bury that hatchet again and stop digging it up every time someone comes by with a differing opinion from yours. The only way we will start healing is if we turn to God.
Oh, no. Here we go, talking about...
Shush. We need to turn to God. Whether that's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hindu, agnostic, atheist, however you want to interpret that. We need to recognize that all men are created equal. No one person is above the other in terms of rights. Government does not give us rights. We have those rights regardless of government. They come from a higher source and power than government. You can riot in the streets all you want and then point the finger of blame here and there and everywhere. But ultimately, the blame is on you. It is on us, the voters. You can protest for change until you're blue in the face, but if you don't back that with a vote that changes the inactive political guard, then you are no better than those career politicians and people who don't vote yet still complain. So instead of insisting that everyone is racist or privileged, if they don't agree with you on systemic racism, maybe focus your time on actually bettering yourself and improving the accountability of those who are supposed to represent you. Remember, everyone agreed for 48 hours. What changed was groups decided to politicize the incident to turn everyone against each other, stop treating the news like it's scripture, and social media like it's Sunday school. It only leads to ignorance and severed relationships with those who would normally be on your side. You cry for tolerance, yet embrace the intolerable. You cling to love, but incite hate. You yearn for unity, but invite division. You fight for freedom, but take it away from others. You ache for no discrimination against your beliefs, but discriminate against the beliefs of others. You're being used. Stop, please, so we can all be better together.
Amen.
Amen. And I'm upset because I realized my phone did not update some of that.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was more.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, there was more. Let's see if I can find it. Watch, it'll update as I pull this up.
May not be too bad of a thing. We're already about to touch an hour.
Let's see.
Today deserved it, though. This is I'm just so tired of all of this. I mean, I have friends who today messaged me saying that they posted their opinion, their ideals, not even via their own words, but via videos of black people that are against the riots, against the hate, that are saying the same things that we are. And they were attacked so badly.
How dare you have an opposing opinion?
Right?
You need to think lockstep like the rest of us. Because it's not racist to think that somebody of a certain skin color needs to think the way that you think. That's not racist.
No, not racist at all.
Heaven forbid you have free thought. So here's something that was supposed to be on there but did not update because I don't know why.
Because you did it on your phone.
Well, I did it on the drive thing on my phone, so wow.
I don't know.
Okay, there we go. Those backing these riots, this is where the website comes in. Those backing these riots are only doing so to destroy Donald Trump, capitalism, the United States, and Western life and values. BLM admits to such in their goals on their website. Also, watch closely what the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, does with this case, and maybe look up his history as well. He is so radical in his beliefs that when it was looking like he would be the new head of the DNC, they did some shady stuff to make sure he wouldn't be. He recently upped the charges from 3rd degree to 2nd degree, which, if you can prove, is great. Lock that officer up for as long as possible. However, 2nd degree murder is harder to prove than 3rd degree. A jury looking at this case now has to look at the criteria for 2nd degree murder, and if he fails to meet that criteria, he goes free. When charged with 2nd degree murder and the trial fails to convict on those charges, you can't go back and charge for 3rd degree. This is exactly the reason why George Zimmerman was acquitted in his trial for the death of Trayvon Martin.
Double jeopardy.
The prosecution upped the charges to 2nd degree, and the jury determined his crime did not fit the requirements for that charge, so he went free. What better way to stir up and divide an already hurting nation than to rob the people of the very justice they are screaming to be had? Of course, if the trial fails to convict, it'll be conservatives and Trump who are at fault for our failed justice system, not the fault of the prosecutor who had an open and shut 3rd degree case but decided to go for the harder to prove 2nd degree charge.
So, do you know what the definition of second-degree charges are and what?
Off the top of my head, no, but I have looked it up.
I have it right here.
Good.
So second-degree murder is generally defined as intentional murder that lacks premeditation, is intended to only cause bodily harm, this is an and, demonstrates an extreme indifference to human life. So it has to fit all three of those categories to be considered second-degree murder.
The major point being proving that he wanted to kill this guy.
But that will vary by jurisdiction. I happen to know there are several states that don't have a third-degree murder.
Right.
So it falls either under manslaughter or under second-degree murder,
right?
Depending on the case, because, like it says, that varies by jurisdiction. So you have three key points of second-degree murder here: intentional killing without permission. It can be argued that this man's death was not necessarily intentional. Second, intent to cause only serious bodily harm. It can be argued that he wasn't trying to cause serious bodily harm. He was trying to pin the man down and make it so that he couldn't get away.
A defense lawyer could easily defend both of those so far.
And extreme indifference to human life. You can make an argument for this point. However, if the other 2 points do not line up, extreme indifference to human life does not constitute second-degree murder.
This is exactly why a lot of people get off from charges like this.
This is why we have a problem with them upping the charges. And I've heard several people that are shouting, it should be first degree. Well, no. First degree is premeditated.
You have to absolutely prove that he woke up in the morning, I'm going to find this man and kill him.
Right. And you have to realize, in order for our justice system to work, it has to be predicated upon innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
If you do not have the evidence, the hard factual evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did exactly what you are charging him with, then he will get off, and he should get off.
Yep.
And so you need to charge him with the crime he actually committed, and that you can for sure get him on.
Yep. Third degree is basically killing someone without self-defense.
Right, exactly. Before you go into its semantics, you have to realize that our law system as it is all about semantics. Yep. The devil is in the details.
Yep.
So the fact that we can look through this and be like, I can see how they could get him off based on these things. If he has a good defense lawyer, which he probably will, then there's a good chance he could get off with these charges.
Especially since he's a police officer, the police union will most likely provide a well-funded lawyer for defense.
But you go to third-degree murder, and third-degree murder is an entirely different animal in and of itself. Because third-degree murder...
Before you do that, it's important to note that the prison time for each of these increases with each degree. So third degree, I think, is up to 25 years, depending on jurisdiction again. And then second degree, I think, is up to 40 years or something like that. So in that regards, I understand why you'd want to up the charges, like lock this guy up as long as you can. I totally agree with that. But don't let him get away. Because if you reach too far, you're going to miss it.
Right. And if you look at, so this is specifically in, this is Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Minneapolis,
Minnesota.
So if you look at Minnesota's third-degree murder charge, they actually have one, and it was originally deprived as a depraved heart murder. So that means that it was without intent to affect the death of any person, causing the death of another by perpetrating an act imminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard for human life. That definition fits perfectly.
Open and shut. Done.
Exactly. So
at this point, if they follow through with second, because it's not official that that's what they're going to actually charge them on, because they haven't been indicted yet, but that's what they're going for is second degree. If they go for second degree and they don't get second degree, the only hope that's left is in the Department of Justice pulling through, because I can't remember what it's called, but you can be charged by the state and also by the federal, depending on what it is that's being charged. And something like this, the federal government does have the legal authority to step in and press charges against the officer. So if second degree fails, our only hope is that the federal charges on third degree to get him locked up. But still, if he gets off in that first trial on second degree, whatever hell we think we're in now with all the riots and everything is nothing compared to what will happen. Conveniently, probably around November. Conveniently. So yeah, it's all a stunt. It's all a stunt. The first couple of days, 2-3 days, yeah, I understood. Rioting, yep. Go ahead and, not rioting, go ahead and protest. Do all that. Because you want justice and you're upset. And you think
it is your right to protest.
It is.
Peacefully.
Peaceably.
Mm-hmm.
As unlike Fredo Cuomo would say, the Constitution says peacefully.
It does. It's very specific.
You have a right to that.
You have the right to assemble peaceably.
Yep.
You have the right to speak out and to protest peaceably.
But as soon as you start getting these groups in, like Antifa, there's no evidence of that. Don't hang your hat on that yet.
Right.
And Black Lives Matter, they're always peaceful. And all
always.
They want justice. All they're seeking is justice for black people. If all they're seeking is justice for black people, why is one of their core beliefs, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Why disrupt Western prescribed nuclear family? What's wrong with the Western family? Which, by the way, before the 70s, the black family was the strongest family unit in the United States. Now it's one of the weakest family units in the United States, with many children growing up without direct father figures in their lives, which has been correlated with high crimes and issues and troubles later on in life. Same with white children that grow up without dads in the house. That's not racially exclusive. That's across the board the same, no matter what your skin color is. It's just, for whatever reason, that community has been blasted on the family unit to the point where they're incentivized almost to not be a family unit. So yeah, so Black Lives Matter wants to make sure families are destroyed, but said it in a very loving and heartwarming way.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we're done being nice.
So many things that we can go into. I mean, we've sat here talked for an hour and we haven't covered a quarter of what we could talk about with this.
A quarter of a quarter of a quarter? No.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, we can go into all the different things. I've been asked by friends why I'm upset about the riots, but not upset by Trump calling in the military to quell things. Like, well, I mean, have you noticed that since places have started responding to the riots, that the riots are now much less violent than they were?
So here in Utah, major kudos. As much as I don't like the Salt Lake City mayor and the governor I'm up and down with.
Yeah. There's some times.
As much as I'm not in agreement with them, they handled the riots that started in Utah perfectly. Because
pull up a bus and wait.
Because the protests started, the protests were happening, all that, and then out of nowhere, some people started to flip over a cop car and do some stuff and tried to damage and destroy buildings downtown. The mayor called in the cops pretty quick, tell them to knock it off. People in the community, one of my favorite stories I saw was a biker drove up to a group of people that were ready to storm the police station or something down there. And because they were all up on the steps shouting and all this stuff, biker pulls up, gets off his bike and goes up to the steps with them and tells them to go home. Mm-hmm. They left. Yep. And around the Capitol here in Utah, in Salt Lake, some major protests going on. People were spray painting, graffiti, all that stuff. Governor, at the request of the mayor, so this is why I give props to the mayor, called in a National Guard, and they had a curfew installed. And it's all done now. It's gone. Mm-hmm. It was all in. They were planning on doing the curfew for like a week, basically. Ended up only doing it for 3 days.
Yep. And we've had many protests since that all went down, and they've all been
no more cars
peaceful.
Turned over, no more windows smashed.
Cars turned over, nothing lit on fire.
And that I am okay with. Do that.
I don't
do it. I may not necessarily agree with what you're doing.
I have friends that walked in those protests, and that's great.
I may no longer agree with what you're protesting for, but you're doing it the right way. So go do it. I don't care. Whatever. Just don't smash things downtown that I might like to go visit and things like that.
And quit tagging the place where I took my engagement pictures, damn it. This is our community. This is where we live. This is our home. Quit wrecking our shit.
Just a little mad.
I am mad. I have a picture in my office, not here, in my office at work, of me and my wife and my motorcycle parked right in front of state of Utah. And there's a picture on the internet now of that state of Utah with graffiti and shit all over it. Bah!
Yeah, knock it off. And if you think Mike's mad, imagine all the people that actually had their cities destroyed. How mad are they? People just come in, some of them not even from that town or that city. They come in, destroy some stuff, steal some TVs because justice, and leave with all this destruction in their wake. Was it estimated something like $500 million in damage in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
That's cool. In the wake of the city already being shut down for months.
And the studies show, without exception, when there are massive riots like this, it takes forever for the economies to recover.
Who's going to move or visit Minneapolis anytime soon? I'm not.
Well, I think lots of people are going to move from Minneapolis very soon.
Exactly.
With them disbanding the police.
But think about it, because even like places like Waco, Texas, the only reason why people want to go there now is because Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Right.
Before they showed up, no one's going to Waco, even though the thing that happened didn't happen actually in Waco. Right. But that's the unseen damage that happens to these places.
And I got something I got to get off my chest about this disbanding the police thing. Like, okay,
breathe.
I get it.
Breathe.
I get it. I'm in an MC. We get pulled over all the time for the things that the patches that we wear. Not necessarily because we did anything wrong.
You're one of those gnarly biker types that just cause trouble everywhere you go, huh?
Everywhere I go. I'm always breaking the law.
You
know what? No.
I never broke the law. I am the law.
Yeah. Little side note here to show how great they are. My son's birthday was last month, And we asked Mike if he'd be able to get himself and a couple of his buddies to come do a little motorcycle parade.
Just a couple.
Ended up being 30, 40 guys, 30, 40 bikes.
Between 25 and 30, yeah.
Yeah. Came thundering through the neighborhood, and my son plugged his ears at first because it was really loud, but the second time they came around, he was super excited, came running to him, jumping up and down, and it was awesome. And even the neighbors thought that was a really cool thing and stuff like that. So just because you don't understand them doesn't mean that they're bad.
Right. And so, we get profiled all the time. I don't care anymore. And they talk about you're white, so you've never experienced the thought that this cop coming up to you for a traffic stop could kill you. Bullshit. I have that thought about people I pass in the street sometimes.
Why? Because they're black?
No, because I live by a rule. I play the what if game. Because the what if game is, what if somebody comes through that door and pulls a gun? What if somebody swerves into my lane? What if the car in front of me stalls out?
So you're saying that humanity has ingrained in them a fight or flight?
Yeah, exactly. And I play the what if game because it is better to have the idea that something could go wrong and be ready for things to go wrong than it is to walk through life with this idea that everything is peachy and nothing bad will ever happen to you. Because bad shit happens. It happens to everyone. All the damn time. And saying, woe is me because something bad happened.
There's all these microaggressions.
Saying woe is me because something bad happened is not productive. Getting up, picking yourself up, and continuing on with your life, being prepared for bad things to happen so that you know how to respond when bad things happen is productive. It's the way to live your life. But getting back to the police thing. Obviously, I have no love lost between me and cops because I have friends that have been arrested and tried with no evidence that were wrongly accused. I've been profiled. My friends have been profiled.
Check your mic.
What?
Yeah,
Check
you were speaking away from your mic. So.
Oh, sorry. Look
at me.
I've seen these things happen. And not just to black people. They happen all the time, regardless of your color, regardless of anything else. So I understand the idea of police brutality, profiling, all these different things. I understand the concept. Now, let me give you another concept, okay? The police force is the only peaceful mitigation between a criminal and a victim that society has. Because you take away cops, and what happens when somebody robs a store? They don't get away, and then the cops catch them later and arrest them and return money, whatever else, and then they go to jail. The store owner arms himself better, and when somebody robs his store, he shoots them, and they die.
But guns are bad, and only cops should have guns.
And when somebody unarmed breaks into your house to steal something, you shoot them, and they die. Robbery then becomes a capital offense because normal people, in order to defend themselves and their property, will kill you for stealing their shit.
Mm-hmm. So your property is more valuable than human life? Is that what you're trying to say?
My property is more valuable than the guy that's breaking into my house that I don't know whether he's armed or not. My wife is more valuable than the guy that's breaking into my house that I don't know whether he's armed or not.
Yep.
And so you take away the medium and the threat of incarceration and things like that. Yes, by all means, I do not agree with victimless crimes. Remove victimless crimes. Throw them away because they're bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't commit a crime without a victim. There is no crime unless a right was violated.
Yep.
So Take away the drug war, take away all of this other bullshit, speeding tickets, all that stuff. Throw it away because it's a victimless crime. And you know what happens? All of our police brutality is going to get cut in half at the least.
Yeah.
Because you remove all of those interactions that cops have with people that escalate because whatever, who cares? You stop that stuff. And watch those numbers get cut. You know what numbers are going to go up from that? Drunk driving fatalities, for one, is going to go up. Because I guarantee if cops aren't out there patrolling, people are going to drive drunk.
Well, we're going to
have crashes.
We're going to have a community organization. That,
right, whatever. No, you're not. And if you do, it's going to end up being a privatized police force, which then is going to become a government police force because eventually somebody's going to be like, well, we can't have this community that pays more for their police department and this community that pays less for their police department.
And we can't handle all these lawsuits on our own, so we need federal.
So it's going to go from having no police force to having a privatized police force to having a government police force, which is exactly what it did originally. Because at some point, somebody was like, well, we need to have a central authority that can enforce these laws. So let's pay somebody to enforce our laws for us. And then it became, well, everybody kind of needs to pay into this. So now we have a government police force.
Here's something I'd be in favor of. A compromise, if you will. Something that a lot of people don't realize is the Constitution has in it law enforcement.
It does.
Your county sheriff has more constitutional authority than just about any other officer, than any other police officer in the state.
Mm-hmm.
In the state. Even state troopers don't supersede county sheriffs.
Mm-hmm.
Federal officials do not supersede county sheriffs. And in most cases, the governor does not supersede county sheriffs. County sheriffs have constitutional authority. Governors have constitutional authority too. But in most cases, the sheriff has authority over law enforcement than the governor. For example, one of my favorite stories, we are going long, but I don't care. This is, I
might
love
need
this.
to change the battery on the camera, though.
One of my favorite stories is, you know what? We'll do break.
Do a break, switch the camera real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, story time.
Continuing on.
Let's do some stories because that calms me down doing fun stories like this.
Right.
And my wife also likes history stories, so I'll have to tell her to skip ahead to
This episode has to go long because otherwise we might end up, I don't know.
We'll most likely do
toaster
this
in the
again
tub or something.
We'll most likely do something like this again next week.
Probably.
Most likely.
The way things are.
So, fun story. In Tennessee, this is about sheriffs. We were talking about sheriffs.
Right.
And their constitutional authority. In Tennessee, back in, I want to say early 1900s, a barn caught on fire, and they did all their stuff to take care of the barn and all that stuff. And some federal agents showed up, and they told the police and the sheriff, deputies there, that don't worry about anything. We're going to be taking over this this investigation here. And the sheriff came over and asked him what's up. And they said, hey, Sheriff, we're going to take over this investigation here. I said, investigation of what? Of the barn fire. The sheriff looks over and looks at them. It's a barn that caught on fire. There's nothing to investigate. I said, no, it's fine, Sheriff. We can investigate this for you. The sheriff's told him that we can go talk about this downtown, or they can leave. And the agents told the sheriff, no, it's fine. We don't need to go downtown. The sheriff looks at him again and tells him, I don't think you understand. We can talk about this downtown, or you can leave. The federal agents said, have a good day, and off they went.
Yep.
Because the sheriff has authority constitutionally over just about any other form of law enforcement. It is critical that you elect good people to be your sheriffs, because in the end, when all hell breaks loose and all government lose its mind, your sheriff is the last line of defense for your constitutional rights. Police can come knocking on your door with some superficial crime or whatever, saying we need to look at this, look at that, look at this. You legally can call your sheriff and have him come down and check everything out and make sure it's all squared away. That's what a sheriff is supposed to do. Now, in places like here, in where we live in the Salt Lake Valley, not so much. I wouldn't trust my sheriff to do that. And long ago, our sheriff signed away a lot of their power and authority by giving things off to unified police and whatever. So basically all the sheriff does now is transfer prisoners to and from prisons and jails.
How unfortunate.
And collect a large salary. But in other cases, like in Tennessee and many other examples across the country, there's sheriffs that hold the line of the Constitution. There's even sheriffs after firearm bans are enacted, whether federally or by the state, tell the state and federal agents that they will not be enforcing, not only not enforcing that law, but they will arrest anyone that tries to enforce that law, because they have the authority to do that.
Oh, if only, we had kept everything the way that the Constitution outlines things. In a lot of cases.
Yeah, but it's a racist document, so.
Oh, right.
Right. Even though it says
Didn't we talk about that a couple of weeks ago? How racist that document is?
Isn't it strange?
Isn't it weird
that
how
we did
that
that
happens?
That's the darndest thing.
Wasn't that before all of this
It was.
nightmare happened?
It was. We took a break.
Pretty sure.
Took a mild break from talking about a virus that is now basically defunct. Yeah. To talk about that.
And well, it just goes to show you that we shouldn't talk about things like that, because we talk about that and then the next week.
So rebuilding, how about we try this? So rebuilding the country to constitution that it's supposed to be. Give it a couple weeks. We figured it out. We figured it out.
Right. We talk about it, then it happens.
Do you have any fun stories? Ease your mind.
Not off the top of my head.
Not off the top of your head. Well, here's a fun one. So protesters destroyed a lot of Arlington Cemetery. And near Arlington Cemetery, they also defaced a memorial to the 54th Massachusetts Regiment.
I thought this was supposed to be a fun story.
Oh, it's a fun story. I found this out yesterday, I think. I learned this little history tidbit. But yeah, protesters defaced the monument to the 54th Regiment of the Massachusetts Union Army, which is ironic because if you've ever seen the movie, oh crap, I just forgot it. Denzel Washington's in it and a bunch of others.
That narrows it down.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington and a bunch of other people were in the movie.
I know more.
It's about an airplane.
I know more politicians than I do celebrities.
So we got Denzel.
Matthew Broderick.
That does narrow it.
Glory.
Glory, yes.
If you've ever seen Glory, which is a movie, I watched it a couple of times in middle school, I think once in high school for history class because history teachers were awesome and just showed movies. But if you've ever seen that movie, you should. It's really great. It's got great reviews from everyone, including critics and viewers. And I'm not saying you should watch it because you're white or because you're black. I'm saying you should watch it because it's a great movie. It's well done, and it's a historical movie, and blah, blah, blah. That movie is specifically about the 54th Regiment of the Union Army, which was an all-black regiment. Yeah. And their monument, erected specifically for them, was defaced with Black Lives Matter sprayed all over it and all this stuff.
Because it makes sense to spray
sense.
that particular
It makes
monument.
sense. And with that, the Lincoln Memorial was also defaced because Lincoln was an extreme racist that freed the slaves. But anyway, Arlington Cemetery, which is near all this, they defaced and destroyed a bunch of headstones and monuments all throughout that cemetery. But do you know who originally owned Arlington Cemetery?
Oh. No, not off the top of my head.
Robert E. Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Who of Confederate fame. But yeah, Robert E. Lee, his house was on the hill above Arlington Cemetery and overlooked Washington, D.C. and all that stuff. At the end of the Civil War, Lincoln was asked, where do we bury the troops? There's lots of troops we need to bury, and we can't just put them in all the graveyards everywhere because there's a lot. Lincoln's response was, bury them in Lee's front yard so he'll always know what he did to this country.
It's a good response.
And people went through that cemetery and defaced it because my rights. My civil rights.
Wow.
So yeah, there's some fun stories.
Sounds like something I would do. You know what? Bury everybody in his front yard.
So he'll always know.
He'll always know what he did.
Wake up in the morning.
You know what you did.
Wake up in the morning with his cup of coffee. That's right. I need to move.
Gosh. In other news, Pelosi had a really hard time standing up today.
Oh. I love this for more reasons than just that.
I mean, when your funeral was 8 years ago, it's a little difficult to get those bones to just adjust right so that you can
a little snap, crackle, pop on the way
back up.
What I love...
I don't know what lich she made a deal with, but...
It was not a good deal.
It was not a good deal.
It's a bad deal.
The dark magic
Probably
holding
the
her
worst
animate is
deal.
not functioning well.
She made probably the worst deal that
In the
anyone
history
can make. It's the
of
worst deal.
I know
can
how
do
to make a
better
deal. And she's not making good deals.
The worst.
The worst deals in the history of dills
I mean,
were made.
Look at me.
when
I got the best deal.
When
she got the
when
worst.
she was making the deal for immortality, she failed miserably. I do a terrible Trump impersonation. It's absolutely awful.
Yeah, your voice didn't change at all.
At all.
You got the lips down though.
I got the hand gesture. It's all about the hand gestures. Because he likes to talk like this.
If you look at pictures of him from the side too, have you ever? No, not even that. So you know Austin Powers 3, I think it is, where he's in the submarine and he's sitting on Mini-Me's shoulders.
Oh, yes.
That's what he looks like from the side. No, it's not the tiny legs. He's leaning forward in almost every shot. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's some sort of intimidation type thing that he's...
All right, let me tell you.
Leans into the table.
There's a handful of things that you need to know.
Yeah, I love one thing. I say love, but I hate it. I just love the hypocrisy.
Oh, hypocrisy.
Last week, beginning of last week, where Donald Trump went to the church and
he was the Bible and
he was eviscerated for posing, doing a photo op.
Eviscerated for tear gassing the peaceful people
he could do
outside
some
on the
photo op.
street that he didn't warn that he was coming.
Yeah, that one.
He mentioned it 3 times.
So
they were told to leave.
So then
they didn't use tear gas.
Then Democrats decide, hey, you know what would be a good idea? Not only to do a photo op, but what if we get some scarves from a people that we don't fully understand, drape them around our shoulders and appropriate their culture, and then kneel on the ground in this place that's designated for that type of people and show that we're in solidarity with them.
Well,
what they big photo op.
What they didn't realize is that the Zoom call that they got where they planned all this, it was actually Trump using a filter to change his voice and his appearance that put it forward. All right, guys, now listen. So what you're going to do is we need to get these cloths from Ghana. It has to be from Ghana because Ghana makes the best cloths. And then you're going to go and you're going to kneel in this place of significance. And it's going to be the greatest thing ever. It's going to be really good.
It's the best. It'll be the best.
It'll be the best.
People tell me this will be the best. So yeah. So the absolute hypocrisy of he's doing all this for a photo op. I can't believe he'd do a photo op. Hey guys, let's do a photo op, and you know that cultural appropriation stuff. Let's just ignore that. And do this cultural thing.
If you listen to Crowder,
let's make it solemn.
It'll be a solemn assembly.
On top of that, Nancy Pelosi quoted scripture. Because now is the time to quote scripture.
Wait. She was able to read a Bible without bursting into flame?
Surprisingly. Some question whether it actually was a Bible or not. But yeah, that's
interesting.
The absolute hypocrisy and everything.
I didn't think her lich master would allow that. I know there's stipulations on that reanimate dead thing.
Maybe she had like some sort of glove on, so it wasn't actually.
It must be it. This is a Michael Jackson glove.
It wasn't actually touching it.
Thriller. That would have been better than what actually happened.
If they went there and did the Thriller, totally fine.
Totally fine.
Totally fine.
Gosh. Oh man! There was a video of a lady that's actually from Ghana that was reacting to it. She was pissed.
Yes.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, somebody stepped on some cultural appropriation toes.
She called them out for treating. I think she said something like treating us like children.
Yeah, which they do. Almost exclusively treat all of us like children all the time. So there's that.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel much better after.
I do too. I felt better after just typing that thing last night.
That's good. That's good.
And then
I had to resort to decrying the lich thrall to.
We have found our sanctuary. We found our abode.
So good.
And these are things that we won't type out on Facebook because.
We'll get shadow banned.
Our white privilege and all that. But
I checked my white privilege this week, actually.
Yeah? Is it doing well?
It was great. Yeah, it was doing.
It's up 30 points.
Well, I mean, it wasn't doing well. It was. What was that? What's that website or whatever that does the quizzes? I sent it to you.
BuzzFeed something.
Yeah,
or other?
BuzzFeed. That's what it was. It was BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed had this little check your privilege quiz. It was like 100 questions. I went in and checked my privilege, and I got like a 13%. So it told me that I'm not privileged at all.
I think I got
knew
the proof for you right here.
already.
Hold on.
But
Hold on.
You got it? Do you got it? If you don't got it, I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
you
I've got
lied. You lying liar of Liarton.
What was it? 17%?
19%.
19. He
You
was
double
19.
liar of Liarton. Right
I'm
there.
sorry.
Right
I got
there.
19%.
That is Mike's results. That is focused, aren't you?
Out of 100 points of privilege, I had 19.
Yes, there it is.
19 of them.
Yep. 19. No, 19.
I was sitting there like, some of the questions are kind of loaded though. Like you can tell that they're pushing it one direction, but it's like it doesn't make sense. Like one of them was, you owned a car in high school, and I was like, well, yes, I did own a car in high school, but it was a car that I bought myself for $500, and then I did all the maintenance on it myself because I was poor. You know,
So because you had a car, you were white.
because I had a car, I had white privilege.
Yeah.
The very first thing on there though is I am white. Check. Okay, that's 1 point.
1 point.
1 point. Point of personal privilege. I am white. I'm waiting for my white privilege check. If you could send that to me immediately, I would appreciate it because I have
and
bills.
thank you.
So many bills, and running a podcast that is making no money is a little bit soul sucking. Almost as soul sucking as Nancy Pelosi's Lich Master.
Almost.
It's
right there. You got
almost
lich sucking,
and
lich,
I would
life sucking.
I
soul
would
master.
say the name of her
right
Lich
there.
Master, or who I think the name of her Lich Master is, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to be suicided.
Does it start with a George and end with Oros?
Shh, don't speak his name.
I didn't. I left out. I left out critical details.
You left out critical, like a letter. But he doesn't donate to protests.
Not at all.
Not
Nor
at
does
all.
he donate to.
Not millions of dollars that somehow wound up in protesters' coffers.
Nor does he donate to district attorneys who let protesters free.
No.
None of that.
Doesn't do
None of that. Anyway,
It's not a thing he does.
just to be
So,
clear,
now that we've firmly
I
placed
do not
ourselves in
have
the crosshairs
suicidal
of literally
tendencies.
everyone in the freaking country.
yeah, because
'Cause
all
we
of 10
made-
people that
li-
listen to this.
Okay, wait. Who have we not offended yet? We made fun of Trump.
Mhm.
We made fun of Obama. We made fun of Pelosi. We decried systemic racism. We decried defunding the police.
Oh, do you watch Rick and Morty?
I do.
So you know Beth's image of how she perceives what's his face?
Yes.
It's funny. Earlier today, I couldn't remember Beth's name, but now I
Can't remember the other one.
I can't remember her husband's name. The way that she imagines her husband, for those that don't know, is some sort of spineless slug thing that's incredibly submissive.
Jerry
Thank
is
you. So she perceives Jerry as this submissive, like way submissive slug thing. And that's how I perceive most Republicans.
Yes.
They are spineless, submissive slug things.
Most.
We
There's
need to hold
like-
the line. Yeah, but it's racist if you do so. Oh, okay, yeah. I
There's like 3-ish that I respect.
Crenshaw?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Hold on. Gowdy? It's up and down.
Yeah, hit or miss.
Hold on. Right now I got Cotton on the front of my mind, but Lee, yes.
Hey, and he belongs to us, so
He is ours.
he's ours. I claim him.
I claim him.
I don't claim the other one.
Don't even know his name, don't even care.
Yes, you do. Everyone knows his name. Romney.
Don't even know his name. Don't even care.
Yep, that's exactly right. No respect for that man anymore.
No. None. Zero. Zilch. But he's LDS, and it's good to have...
So is Mike Lee.
But he doesn't like things.
Yep.
So there. Now
waiting for the argument there.
Now we insulted our own religion. So
there you go.
Take it.
There you go.
Take it. Get mad at us for insulting ourselves.
That was the other one. That was the other one that I thought was funny. Have you ever been threatened for your religion? Yep, I've had guns pulled on me multiple times for my religion. Actually,
same.
Actually, I've been called racial slurs. I've been called religious slurs.
Best name I've been called was Jesus Boys. Hey, look, it's Jesus Boys. Come play with us.
That's a good slur, though.
I know.
That one doesn't count.
That's why I say best.
That one doesn't count.
I can't say the other ones.
Yeah, that's true. That's those dark times.
But I don't know what it's like to be.
Oh no, I've never had someone tell me that they have 100+ acres of land that nobody would ever find my body on.
Nope.
Never had that.
Never had a pistol behind the door or a shotgun in front of my face. Never once had that just because.
Not even once.
Just because I was some white boy with a white shirt and a black badge.
Oh, I wasn't even just talking about on the mission. But yeah, that happened a lot there too. I've been told I was going to hell for my religion. I've been told I was going to hell for my sexuality, which is funny because it doesn't make any sense. But the other one I thought was funny was like it was like, have you ever been called some gender slur or whatever, and it like actually lists out the ones that I can't say because we're on radio. And
well, internet radio.
Whatever.
Technically, internet radio, you can basically say anything you want.
Pretty much. But this is going on YouTube, so I have to edit myself. So
mostly.
It's like, have you ever been called, pick your generic homosexual slur, whatever? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, yeah. Is there anybody that hasn't?
I know.
Been called those things? Some
of my best friends have called me those things.
Okay.
I don't know.
And not to demean this at all, because I do understand it's a problem people have. There are individuals that are racist. There are individuals that are sexist, and there are individuals that are homophobic. That's a thing.
Yep.
True enough.
Yep.
But, like, legit, I don't know of any guy I've ever met that has never been called any of
that
those,
list of names.
That list of names. Pretty much every one of them at some point or another.
Yeah.
So.
It's systemic.
Oh, it is. It is so systemic. Thank God I was born with thick skin.
Yeah.
As you can tell.
If you're trying to listen to him shake his belly fat, that's
imagine the truffle shuffle. That's what I just did.
Almost.
It's my flap. I'll play with it if I want to.
Yeah.
All right.
Did we miss anyone? Did we miss any insults or degrading or oppression?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's other things that we could.
I mean, we got a whole another set of weeks that we can do all this.
Yeah.
So I guess
I'm sure we'll make a list of people we haven't offended.
We can probably call that good in
the next episode.
Yeah, we can probably call that good.
If we haven't offended you yet, message us something that would offend you so that we can offend you next time.
Do that next time. Please. And like,
I think I swore enough to offend most of our LDS listeners. Oh, members of the Church of Latter-day Saints.
Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Leave out the most
you
important
can't even
part.
Get that
Gosh
part.
dang it.
Holy cow, you
I am
ingrate.
Yeah, there we go. We just offended everybody in Utah. Done.
Heathen.
I'm so bad. I'm a bad person.
Pharisee.
I'm just waiting for one of the apostles to hear this podcast so that he can excommunicate me.
That or he'll call in and tell us how hilarious we are.
I doubt it's going to be that one, unless he's a fan of Jay Golden Kimball, which I am.
Everyone should be.
Jay Golden was my favorite.
Everyone should be.
I was told I needed to come back and apologize to you for telling you that most of you were going to hell. I apologize. I was wrong. All of you were going to hell.
There, fixed it.
There, fixed it.
With that, I think we'll call it there.
Yeah, I think we should.
That was a good one. It was long.
Very long.
Hopefully informative. If not, I'm sorry you weren't listening.
Right.
And that's the Naked Apple.
Till
In all
next
of its
time.
glory.
Fare thee well.
Goodbye.